Hello, everyone. Dr. Allen here. Hope you have had a great week. I'm actually recording this from my home office, so you see me kind of clicking and moving things around or mumbling a little bit at the screen. It's because I'm trying to operate this on my laptop. It is Saturday morning, February 1st, when I'm recording this. So um, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. A few things from prior things. One, I think I ended the one last video, Go Commanders. Whew, not good. They didn't go, but good season. Also, that's probably the least important thing related to 380. Um, the websites. Websites were awesome. When I'm grading it, I'm probably going to always be when I'm discussing something from 2 weeks back. So I'm recording for week four. This week, during week three, I graded week two. Long story short, most people use Google Sites. They were awesome. A lot of people, I was pleasantly surprised. A lot of people gave Wix a shot, and they looked awesome. And Weebly, a lot of people went ahead and gave it a shot. And actually, the reviews, for the most part, were pretty good with Weebly. I personally like Weebly. I know a few people on the blogs mentioned they thought it was clunky, and it is. It is like an acquired, I'll say acquired taste. It's something that you definitely need to play with a good bit. And once you get the feel for it, it's pretty doable. But Google Sites, if I was teaching now, I probably would just use Google Sites. Excuse me, mainly for it's straightforward and it just connects to everything with Google. Um, but with all that being said, they were awesome. Blog reviews were great. Again, I might comment a thing or two on a blog if I see something very just like, hey, I might comment and say, oh, it might be like this, or I see your point. But for the most part, the blogs, I feel like I don't want to sway anyone's opinions or anything too much. Um, Discussions were great. I say let's just keep doing what we're doing. And this week, we're going to actually talk a little bit about presentation software. And I'm going to focus on one. There are a lot of things that we can kind of go into this, but just for me and simplicity's sake, I'm just going to tell you this and to keep this video succinct. There, PowerPoint is something that's been around really since the 90s. And it's taken, it's pretty much a staple. There are a lot of presentation softwares now that we can use in the classroom. Some people have preferences. I still think the two big ones that most people use are probably, if they're not doing PowerPoint, are usually, or Google Slides, are Nearpod and Pear Deck. But there are other ones that are kind of quickly moving up the charts. Metameter is another one that's pretty cool. I'm just going to say this. I like these, and I'll talk when I'm making my sample one for you. I like these for PowerPoints because you can create formative assessments in them. I'm a big proponent of Nearpod. That's what I'm going to show you today, mainly because that's just something I was using. I was using it trying to do the math probably 10, 11 years ago. It's actually an older one that has kind of evolved. A lot of these, like even Pear Deck, which is kind of more associated with Google Classroom and such, they were around pre-pandemic, but during the pandemic, they got very, very popular. So I assume most people are familiar with it. Prezi's one I'm not going to talk about too much. It's still around. It's kind of a little different version of PowerPoint, but you can definitely create things. Metameter is pretty cool. It's one, and I have some videos up if you want to check any of these out. Um, Metameter has things like word clouds, and students, I have my phone here, so I'll show students can use devices and, of course, respond, and the word cloud will develop. And, of course, they have polls and things like that. That's the other thing, and I'm going to talk about it as I make the Nearpod. You can use these they're nice because the students are going to have Chromebooks or iPads or something, some sort of device, most likely in the classrooms you're in. And you can actually have them sign in and get instant feedback. So I taught social studies, and if you're a secondary person, it's probably really nice for this because you probably are going to lean a little bit more on lecturing. I know we talk about not doing that, but the reality is you're going to probably do some lecturing. It is nice because you can do quick formative assessments, like you can ask simple questions and you can get responses back. Boom, 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 boom. And you can download the data just to kind of note that for when you get into EdTPA, so you can get student feedback and how they did and kind of pull information out. Pretty much all of these do that. So again, PowerPoint is awesome. I still use PowerPoint, but usually now I do use some other technology device, even if I don't really add a lot to it, and I load it up into like Nearpod or Pear Deck and such. In the interest of time, I'm going to do Nearpod. It's the one that I'm most familiar with. It's the one I like the best. That's just a personal preference. A lot of it, again, it's probably like a little bit like Weebly. It's just the one that I used a lot, and I've just kind of stuck with it. So, with that being said, we're going to go to Nearpod, and I'm going to move my face over there. And if you look, there's a login. You can sign up. This is free. This is a very important thing. I'll probably put it on the email blast also. Do not sign up for anything that costs money. There's nothing in this class that costs money. I'll still get some emails that say, hey, it's asking me to pay something. You don't have to pay. There's always free accounts on everything we use. Um, if you do like this, it is something that you might want to consider. I do pay a little bit for Nearpod Gold because I still use it in some of my EDUC classes, especially the live ones, just to it helps me to take attendance because students have to put their names in. And again, it helps me with like understanding and checks, information checks and such. Um, but don't pay for anything. Just do the free account. And when you go in, I'm not going to do it because I have a regular account. But when you click log in, slowly it's going to click on. Hopefully it'll come on here. All right. If you look, I mentioned everyone should have a Google account at this point. You can just sign in with your Google account and create it with your Google account. It's probably the easiest thing to do. I didn't have a Google account when I did this, so I actually have to go this route. So I'll just do my sign in. Hopefully I remember my password. Hopefully I remember my password. There we go. It's a little quick on the first one. There's a lot here with Nearpod, and all of these, and I should say, I would check out the other presentation ones. And as many of you are starting to go out in the field or are getting ready to go out in the field, check what your cooperating teachers use because there's stuff that's just coming out continuously. Again, I like Nearpod, but anyway, one reason I like it is it has library of different content things that you can just download into your account, as you can see. But I will be the first to admit, I don't usually, when I first started teaching, well, let me rephrase that. When I first started using Nearpod, I did download some of their activities and kind of molded it to my own personal teaching and things like that. But it's like anything. We talk about good teachers steal or good teachers borrow, and you kind of make it your own. It's the same way with Nearpod. If you download something, you definitely want to mold it to your standards and your teaching style. With that being said, when you go in here, there's so many cool things that you can do with Nearpod. These are all the ones I've made over the years, just different ones. You can see I did download a few. I've even done presentations at Shepherd and used it. I like it a lot. I've said that a million times, but let's just go ahead and jump in. We're going to create a lesson, and this is what you have to do this week. You have to create a lesson. You have to create a Nearpod. We're going to create this. And you see there's different ones. You can upload a lesson. You can explore the library. You can use Google Slides. And it does interface with Google Classroom. I'm not going to do any of that today. We're going to create a lesson from scratch. And when you do that, you'll end up with this. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. I'm going to tell you what I think is the easiest. You can literally just click this, and you can click and add a slide for each one. You can and just go from there. And as you can see, there's different things. There's create, there's interactive tools. We'll talk about that you can insert. There's quizzes, there's games, there's things like that. There's discussion. That's all nice. But I would not, unless you are a very patient person, use the Nearpod slides. Mainly because I like Nearpod a lot. I don't think it's interface. I think it's much easier to make a PowerPoint and then load it onto Nearpod than it is to specifically make the presentation in Nearpod. It's not as the typing ability. It's gotten better. I still don't think it's as polished as PowerPoint is. So with that being said, I'll come back and show you the bells and whistles. But when you're on this screen, you need to create a PowerPoint. It needs to be 10 slides. Personally, I'm not picky. When I say 10 slides, I don't count the title page, but it needs to be something on a content that you're going to be teaching. And just to reiterate that, because I think I just needed to see if you could use the skills, but make sure it is something that you might be teaching or you could see yourself teaching. The website, some people kind of did, one or two people did some, um, they still kind of, they worked, but it wasn't like content specific. Keep it there. So if like I was going to do one, I'm going to do one on 1989. If I was teaching social studies, that's a big year. Berlin Wall falls, things like that. So what you need to do, you get to this screen, and as you can see, it says download a PDF, PD, PowerPoint, PPT, and such. Um, go here. We're going to click, and it should just ask us to upload it. And actually, I had to make sure. This is actually a PDF. I usually convert everything to PDFs just for, I think it just seems often I have different, I just think it's easier. It's going to ask you this, create a PDF viewer or individual slides. Always click individual slides and you'll see what's going to happen here. And it should load it up very slowly. And as you see, it's processing. And they'll pop up here in a minute. There you go. And the slides are there. And that's just, this was one that was on 1989. It's a little more pop culture-y, but it was a lesson that I did because a lot of times the students like to talk a little bit about pop culture. Like you can see The Simpsons and such are on there, and top 30 songs, movies, and such. Okay, this is nice. This looks good. I'm going to let it keep loading while it's finishing up. What we're going to do next, we're going to click this and we're going to add some of the things that are in it. I'll go back after we add them and just kind of show you what it looks like. Let's go ahead. I think it seems to imply we can add it. So we'll go ahead and click. Now, if you look here, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can add. We just did that. But if you go down here, there's interactive. You can add videos. They're right from YouTube. So let's just look. Is there anything cool in there? I will tell you this. You need to add 3 things. I'm not for sure. It changes and seems to rotate a little bit what the free account has right now. You just need to have 3 different things that you add within your PowerPoint, or I'm sorry, within your Nearpod. I'm going to just show you a couple. But for example, let's do a video. And it should, sorry, it's a little slow. I think all that power outage is Martinsburg. If you live in Martinsburg, I think it's thrown some stuff off. As you can see, you can do different videos. We're just going to do the Cold War. And let's see if we can find something. Here's one. We're just going to, I'm not going to be too picky. We'll do a crash course. I'm at my space capacity, of course. You can insert that in. We'll skip that one. I knew I had to clean up. Let's see. We'll go back. I have a lot of Nearpods I need to get out of there. Let's go ahead and cancel, and I'll show you something else. Yep. And you can add videos. There's other cool stuff that you can add in here. Again, a little slow, a little slow, a little slow. There we go. You go down here, the videos are cool. There's 3D. That's one that if you're doing science, it has like, it'll show like parts of the body and things like that. You can do the VR field trips. I'll show you that here in one of my old ones. What I think most of you would probably do more than anything, you're probably going to do one of these. So for example, you may have students draw a response. We're going to add that. And we'll just do draw something from the 1980s. This is totally ridiculous, but we're going to do it anyway. All right. As you can see, now that activity is in here. And I don't know, and I kind of jumped ahead. I don't know if you're familiar with Nearpod or not. I think most of you are. What happens is when you create these and you share it, your students will put in a code. They will have this all show up on their screens. So wherever we want to put something, we'll just put it right here. Boom, now it's there. Now, another thing that you can do, I'm going to show you some of these other things here in a few minutes, but you can do fill in the blank, you can do polls, you can do collaborate, which I like collaborate. That's probably the one I use the most. It's like you throw sticky notes up. You might ask someone, name a famous person from the 80s, which I'll just throw that as the question. You can add an image in there. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can name a famous person from the 1980s. And we'll click that. And again, we can just move it around. So basically, that's how you move and create a Nearpod. We can preview it if we'd like. And as you see, I'm going to show you some other stuff that it does here in a second. And there are instructional videos on this if you need it from YouTube that might be a little more polished than what I'm doing. But if you look, there's that. And as students have this, everything will pop up there. That was me making them pop up. But as you can see, that's kind of how it goes. This is what will show up on student screens. Let's go. There's slide 2. I think it previewed it as I posted, but there you go. And you go through, and your students will get these to do. So you can talk about the PowerPoint and all, and it's kind of saved on a cloud. And this is here. This is the information that's saved for you too. You can go back and see the responses. I'll say this a million times in this class. Anything you do like this, like when we do talk a little bit about Kahoots and some of the game type stuff, I would really recommend having your students put their real names in, unless it's something really, really goofy that you're doing. One, just because it would be your luck, someone would walk in and some student has put something up that you may or may not know is inappropriate. Also, if you're trying to see who understands what, it helps to have those names so you can start to identify any gaps or anything like that. So, and as you can see, that's the adding of Nearpod. Now, I keep saying that I'll show you some of the cool tools, and I haven't done that yet. Let me go ahead and make that a bigger screen. I don't know why I didn't do that earlier. And we'll get to the end here. We'll go ahead and exit out. Okay, so that is done. After you make it, you just hit save and exit. And it should be moving me back. And it'll probably put it as first thing on my little menu. And when you share it, there's a couple ways you can submit this on Brightspace. One, you can just download it as a PDF and submit the PDF. That's fine. I don't have to go through and do the activities. There's your report screen. So when anyone does anything, we can go. I'll show you reports here in a second. If you want to share it with other people, you just click share, and you can actually just copy the link. I will be the first to admit, usually the PDF is the easiest thing, just in case the links don't work or anything. And I'll just email you and say, hey, I need the link. But PDF's fine. Yeah, just in case. This was when a presentation I just did a little bit. So let's go look at the report. I don't think anyone actually, we were kind of ended up talking, but as you can see, it'll show you live participation. Actually, I don't think this is going to be a good one to show you. Not because there's anything, I just don't think there was a lot of answers that were done. So let's go back. Let's move this too, so I can actually see what I'm doing. Let's go back and slowly go back. And this will be a good one. Let's go to reports. I'm going to probably not click it just because I forgot there might be student names on there. But when you click on here, you'll get all the data and the results. So it's right there. I guess I could have showed it with the other one. So, and again, you can edit it, and it does talk about what type of style you did. Because another thing with Nearpod that you can do, you can either assign it as homework, an independent one, or you can do live participation. I like the live participation personally because it just keeps, I just think it's me doing my natural thing just with a formative assessment included. Like, for example, let's go ahead, since we did this one, we'll go ahead and say teach. And what happens is you can pick student paced or you can pick live participation. You pick live participation, it just shows up on whatever device, if it's a TV, if it's a smart board or whatever, and there'll be a code. So we'll click that. And as you can see, I usually wrote the code up on the board, but it's always available. It's always up here. And that's, you see, you can do Zoom, you can do student reactions on and off, you can embed with Google Classroom and everything else. But if you click that, that always will pop it up. But I usually just put it on the board. By the way, with the presentation, I did not know 1989 was an album until I said I was doing something related to this, and everyone asked me, oh, the album. if it's post 1995 in terms of music, I'm probably not very good with it. So anyway, side note. Let me show you a couple of other small things. I used to have one that was really good. The video, I'm a little disappointed in myself because I would have shown you that, but that's all right. I need to clean this up. I think you know what YouTube is, but it embeds the videos. Here we go. I just wanted to show you a few things. This was one I did on Howard Gardner, which if you had 320, you probably talked about. But as you go through, again, I've showed you that. I just wanted to show you the VR thing. And there's some stuff there. There's the poll. So when you put poll in, it literally will come up like this, and the results will be on there. And at the top, you can do either student or teacher view. You'll see a little tab up here. Like I say, I think it's just a nice way to keep your students. You can kind of just check and make sure they're in there. Yeah. Really big on the polls on this one. There we go, field trip. I just wanted to show you. There's also some virtual field trips, and when you pick that, you can kind of look around. This is one from the Louvre, and it's actually really cool with iPads because they can hold. I'll hold my phone up. They can hold it up and move it around. Again, you've probably seen something like this, but again, you can zoom in. This is one that just if you were there's one of Napoleon, and we can zoom in and check it out. I will give you the heads up. Make sure you always check these videos out or these VRs before you post them. This was probably about 11 years ago, but I remember one of the first times I used it, I had a street scene, I believe from London. We were looking at the Tower Bridge or something, but it was coming up from the tube station or their subway system. And there was some graffiti on one of the poles, and there was some stuff that I didn't know was on there, and as students were zooming in, so I had to go, whoa, 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 we're gonna move on from the VR. Stuff like that happens, but just to kind of give you the heads up, always check what you're doing. You can also, I didn't show you this, you can just add simple open-ended questions and have student responses. They can be anonymous. There are things up at the top, how the students are displayed and some of the settings. Some of it requires just you kind of fiddling around a little bit with it. But again, very cool tool. I would recommend it. That's Nearpod. Of course, I'm always available. I know that's a mouthful, and I was kind of jumping around a little bit. I will also have YouTube videos up if you need a little more just succinct type videos. Let me make sure that I got everything on here. Oh, I want to make sure we're on the same page as far in terms of what you have to do this week. That's Nearpod, and you can definitely do that for the assignment. But if you're more familiar with any of these other presentation softwares, or you're familiar with one that you've seen a teacher use and you want to try it, just email me. It's probably be fine. But what you're supposed to do this week is make sure you have a title page of the lesson. Can be anything in your field. Create 9 slides. I said 10. You get the point. It should be 10 slides. I really think 11 is nice, because you should have 10 pages of content, but I have 9 on there, so that's fine. I think this has been a constant for some weird reason. People always ask me this. So I must have relented at some point, so that's fine. But anyway, 10 slides. Have 10 slides on there. They can be anything. Make sure it's loaded up on there. You can type it in Nearpod if you're patient. Make sure you put a poll. Make sure you have an open-ended question, and make sure you put a quiz, which is another feature that's on there. I don't care, though, if you have something else you want to do. Like there's one, it came in after I made this assignment. It's called Time to Climb. I think a lot in elementary like it. If you've ever seen The Price is Right, and they have the mountain climber game where you go up and they yodel, and then he falls off the cliff if they put too much money or they overestimate or whatever. Time to Climb is sort of like that, but students have to answer questions and get to race to the top. It's actually a pretty cool feature. If you want to do any of those, I just want to see 3 bells and whistle type things in there. It can be a video. It can be collaborate. Like I say, you're going to have the free account, so whatever you think works best, that's fine. I would like to see 3 different things if at all possible. And also, most schools, if you do Nearpod, usually have Nearpod accounts for the county. Might be something you can ask for if you like the tool. The one thing I would say is when you leave the county, make sure that you check and make sure if you've created anything that you can transfer to your new account. There is ways to do that. Sometimes you have to call Nearpod and they'll take care of it for you. Um, but that's the assignment. And of course, you're going to do a review on whatever presentation. I have Pear Deck on there. I know like Frederick County, Maryland, I think likes Pear Deck more. I think they have a lot of Google type of stuff. So if you want to do Pear Deck and you're familiar with it, go for it. Um, and then the discussion three, which actually is going to be discussion four, I just have to renumber it. I have moved it up. Be on there. So this blog four, discussion four, and a presentation software are the assignments for the week. Here are videos and materials on all of them if you need them. And again, if you have one that you've seen and you would like to share with me or ask if you can do it, please feel free. Like I say, these things are changing all the time. Metameter is one that I just discovered a couple years ago, or maybe even a year ago. Someone showed it to me and I thought it was pretty neat. So you might want to check that one out. I think I still took over 15 minutes, so I'm going to get off of here. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. You all have been rocking it. Like I say, websites have been great. I have no doubts that the Google Classrooms will be as equally great. And I will talk to everyone for week 5. Don't forget, you can also stop by my office if need be. And have a wonderful week. Talk to you later. Bye.